Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Chris Bratt.
Hello.
Simon Miller.
Yo.
And this week, Tom Ori.
Hello.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm all right.
I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You've been keeping well?
Yeah.
They've been feeding you properly?
Pretty good, yeah.
Excellent.
We
missed
missed
you,
lots
Tom.
of apples and bananas.
Lots of apples and bananas?
That's my new lunch.
That's good. I've been eating quite a lot of fruit lately as well. But I haven't this morning. I've just drunk coffee and eaten chocolate bars.
Yeah, exactly the same. Exactly the same.
I feel good though.
Chocolate bars for breakfast.
Twix.
You'll crash about 4 p.m.
I'll crash earlier than that. I reckon I'm about 20 minutes or so.
Maybe.
So what have you been playing this week, Chris?
Still haven't been able to play a whole lot outside of the office, but something a little bit video game related. Watched the first episode of this Defiance TV show. It was on last night in the UK.
Because this obviously Defiance, for those of you who haven't been following it, and nobody's been following it, so it's everyone. We're kind of aware of this because they've been hammering it to hell for months and months and months and months. But the idea is that it's quite a cool idea, actually. It's a sci-fi game that ties in with a sci-fi TV series and an online webisode thing, or basically it's one of these things where it's kind of a multimedia experience, and the idea is that the world all ties together across different formats. It's the sort of thing that was clearly cooked up in a marketing meeting where somebody went, "This is amazing."
It sounds great. I don't see it working too well. I don't know, but Defiance, the TV show, it wasn't totally bad. So that's good.
Really?
Yeah,
sure.
How did it tie into the game, though?
It wasn't.
Don't you have to... Aren't they claiming that stuff you do in the game affects things in the show? I'm not sure how that happens, but maybe one week someone has a blue shirt instead of a red shirt.
Is it going to be like
something.
the rubbish interactive teletext thing of being like, if you killed this person when you played the game, press the red button.
Yeah, I love those.
Oh no.
They're like Bamboozle, but for games.
Yeah. We talked about this before, but it is really strange that the game came out before the TV series because you need to build that hype up. Surely,
or is it
a
maybe
little bit.
games are a bigger deal now than TV? So
And they're hoping that it goes the other way, but it doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the whole little TV series that goes before games is actually a really common thing now. It's just that it's not really shouted about.
Yeah.
You always get like, comic book tie-ins and little mini web series of the animations.
I saw the Red Faction film thing was on Sci-Fi Channel last night.
Yeah, straight after Defiance, actually.
Did they mention the game at all during the Defiance stuff? They must have...
No, they kind of... You'd occasionally get like, go to Twitter with hashtag Defiance UK, and that was...
we're not getting involved with...
So if you're playing the game, there is no way to know what you gained from watching that TV series.
The story does cross over, and you'll meet the characters from the TV show whilst you're playing. But
This just makes it sound like one of them is just an appendix. I don't know which one. And that's pathetic.
I think especially with the way that games are getting smart with the way they can tie in to other stuff as well. Actually, like obviously the guys who used to do half the guys who used to do Inside Xbox have just launched a kind of new show called Thank You for Playing. Which is like a kind of this interactive thing, and the idea that when you watch episodes of it, as you go through and watch certain bits, you unlock achievements which unlock things, and that whole element of having something where you'll watch something and unlock something.
And it gives you something back,
You sort of think they've kind of missed a trick with Defiance, surely, of not having, even if it was something maybe you could watch the show online, and that when you do so, you then unlock credits or...
You think it'd be something like... At least that makes sense. At the moment, it just sounds like you get a little bit of extra information if you watch the TV show.
Yeah, there is supposed to be some crossover. I'm just not entirely sure. They didn't make it clear, like, at the end of the TV episode, it's like, now go online and play Defiance and...
I need to think here that you say it isn't terrible, though. I mean, I feel like I need to do some sort of sci-fi litmus test with you now. Like.
It's not good.
What other sci-fi do you think is within the same area?
Ooh.
Is it better than Stargate, the original series?
No.
Is it better than Farscape?
It's on par with Farscape.
On par with Farscape.
But I'm not a Farscape fan. That's
what about Stargate Atlantis?
I'd say it's close to that. It's closer to that. Yeah.
A lot of people like that.
I love Chris Judge. There was the look of genuine disdain on your face there, Tom.
The way I kind of saw it, has anyone watched, it's not sci-fi, but has anyone watched Jericho? That's kind of post-apocalyptic.
I've watched 2 episodes.
It's kind of like Jericho, but with a bunch of aliens. That's what my impression of it.
What are they defying or being defiant against?
So there was kind of 30 years ago from where Defiance is taking place, an alien fleet arrives at Earth. They've migrated and they thought Earth was like going to be their new home.
So is it V?
kind of. And they realized that there's humans there, so they started having negotiations whilst the ship stayed in orbit.
Defiant.
No, it's not even that. A war kicks off, as wars tend to do in these situations. The ships just start exploding all over the place. Earth gets terraformed. That's something that happens. And then the war kicks off, and the Defiance is this defiant few who decide not to kill each other anymore, and then the aliens and the humans.
That sounds
live
like
together.
Resistance. A bit like Resistance.
Sounds like a bit like every sci-fi.
exactly.
Oh no, it is very it's very generic, very cheesy. But I went in with super low expectations.
This is just interesting because I think that what's funny about Defiance is it's just, for me, I haven't really seen enough of that to know if this is entirely true, but my gut reaction is it's like an example of the creative process the wrong way around.
Yeah, think of an idea that worked backwards.
Of being like, just basically thinking, let's make everything. And it's like in the same way that, in a way, like when Skylanders came out, that you could tell, because Activision are that kind of company, that they weren't thinking about, let's make a nice game. They were thinking about
getting the
pajamas, duvet covers,
but it worked,
toys, and boy, it worked. Fair play to it. But at the same time, I find it interesting with Defiance, this whole like make everything, work out the details later. Whereas there's another thing I've noticed this week, a cool little thing called Rivet Wars, which is like becoming a board game, because I'm really into my board games as well. And it's just the dude that started off with one drawing of a funny little character.
Yeah.
And then he liked it and he thought, I'll make it into a model. And he made it into a model and people loved it. And he started selling models of this. But then it's gradually expanded just because he's like, all right, well, I'll make a tank for him to go in. Oh, no, I need to make a rocket launcher and an enemy team.
That's amazing.
And it's kind of transformed into this whole universe. And it was mad that he put on a Kickstarter saying, I'd like to make a Rivet Wars board game with a 20k mark budget. If I get 20k, we'll make the board game.
Blown past
and in like 3 days, it got like 500,000. And it's just like
to make a board game.
Yeah. It's going to be a really good board game.
It's going to be the most over the top board game ever.
So it's already looking like incredibly likely that we are going to see a Rivet Wars video game.
Must be.
Well, they need to do something with the money, surely. Yeah. Oh god, didn't need that much actually.
They keep putting it in buckets and throwing it out the windows.
They should make a TV series that ties into the game, and then
precisely. But that's weirdly, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yes.
It's just like a case of like, there's an argument for saying, let's let these things happen organically.
Somebody will get that right eventually. That is an untapped, idea. Somebody with serious kind of cash and vision will get it right. And
it's funny because
this incredible thing that you can jump through.
Yeah, in a way, they've banged on about Defiance as if it is this like revolutionary thing. Watch the TV show, play a game. Yeah. You know what? I did that when I was like 13. It was called Pokemon.
True. That's a good point.
I think it's almost like the technology isn't quite there yet, because like if you think next gen consoles are all going to be like TV boxes and all this stuff as well. Yeah. Like, I don't know, interactive TV and all this kind of thing. If you're watching it on your PS4, maybe you logged in as your account. It knows you've watched Defiance. It can give you an extra couple of credits or whatever. Absolutely. But at the moment, if you're watching it on Sky, it doesn't know. You have no idea that.
Imagine if you watch an episode of Defiance on the TV thing, and at the end of it says, right, and it's got these guys running off to go and do a mission or something.
That's the thing.
And then it goes play, and you just jump straight into that mission.
It's an online MMO thing, isn't it? So you can just drop that mission in as soon as it finishes. That's what I thought it was. So that's kind of cool.
All that kind of flexibility is going to have to be on the game side of things, because they can't do anything with the TV show.
I'm pretty sure it's the other way around.
But how do you do that?
Unless I'm wrong. I'm sure they've said that things that happen in the game affect things in the show, but that doesn't seem doable. Maybe I've got it all wrong, but
it's going to do it. But they can do it. It's just going to be a bit. I don't know. I mean, the way that they affect things in like World of Warcraft used to have these big world events where you'd affect things, but it was basically just a case of going, "Hey guys, can you collaborate to get us 10,000 bits of wall so we can open this gate to Egypt land?" And actually, the whole exercise of those world events in World of Warcraft, a bit of trivia I love, is the only reason they did all those things was to rebalance the economy. So when they'd have items that had become too valuable for whatever reason, mainly lower level stuff that people couldn't be bothered to go and get, and it would unbalance the game, they then go, all right, well, we need to take some of it out of circulation, like a lot of it. And so all the people who had it in their banks because it was valuable and they were sitting on it, they basically go, oh, you need to give all of these items and then we'll do a happy world event. And it was basically like an arms amnesty or something. It was just a case of going, we need to, because obviously when things exist, unless they get turned into something else or sold to a vendor, which didn't have very often. It's like with any economy, you can create currency, but you can't destroy it. And the only way they could destroy currency without causing an uproar was by getting people to be charitable.
Happy World.
I like that.
Quite fun.
Do you want my final review for Defiance?
What, the TV show?
If I was sitting down,
How many Star Treks out of 10 is it?
4. If I was sitting down and it was on,
Which character of Star Trek is it most like?
Oh God.
Is this us just saying that Star Trek is the pinnacle of sci-fi?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's next generation.
Right,
anyway.
But if it was on the TV and I couldn't quite reach the remote, I'd watch it. But if I wouldn't choose to watch it, I think that's pretty much sums up
How
the TV
on
show.
the scale of a polished Picard? How polished? Talking like gloss or mirror sheen?
A very light gloss.
If you were LaForge from Next Generation, would you bother to put your visor on to watch it, or would you just not bother and just?
No, I don't think I would.
If you were Worf, would you get angry and be asked to leave the bridge?
Worf's always angry.
This could last forever if we're going to go through every single Star Trek character.
If you were Janeway in episode 23. No, let's not do this. So you've been playing a game. I'm actually really jealous because I've been away in both Germany and Cloud Cuckoo Land and not been playing many games lately. But you've been playing a game that I really want to play, Tom. Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah, well, this is possibly the first 3DS game I've actually bought on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Because I love Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. Me and James imported a Japanese GameCube when it came out. God knows when that was. Luigi's Mansion was the best game at launch. And it's just been a dead thing since then. I don't know how many years ago that was. And I think it deserved a sequel sooner. I mean, it's good that they've got one now. And it's really good. It works really on the 3DS. It's got that kind of Nintendo feel that I don't think many games have, even from Nintendo in recent years.
Yeah, I think that's been my problem. And a lot of things I hear about Luigi's Mansion, I heard that, I think actually old Gaston was this morning saying, there's bits like where he's awkwardly humming along to the music in the background in the game.
I love that.
It's like,
It's so good.
He's like as a character, he's more than just a guy that you play as. He does stuff that you like him more as a character because of the way he interacts and the things he does. And it's got a very nice sense of progression in terms of how it builds up gradually. It starts quite slowly, I think. I know Dave was saying he's played about an hour and he didn't really get into it. I mean, it starts off slow, but then gradually you get new stuff, you get new abilities, your like Hoover thing and your light gets upgraded and it builds to more complicated ghosts.
What's it like for kind of like what chunky it's into chunks is it? Because I mean,
it is quite in terms of like how it's like portable and playing in little. It's very. I mean, I play it in evenings, so normally it's about 40 minutes or so, and I can usually get one mission or level done in that time.
Nice.
And even if I don't, I can just close the lid and pick it up the next day anyway, which is cool. I think it is. I can't remember exactly the format of Luigi's Mansion 1, so I don't know how it compares really, but it is very much here's a chunk of level. And you can get that done in 30, 40 minutes. One of them took a bit over an hour, but maybe I was just being really slow. But it does seem designed to do a bit here and then pick it up again and do another level. And rather than playing it in huge, like 4-hour sessions, whatever. But it's just really nicely put together. It's made by the guys that did, I think I'm going to say something wrong, but I think they did like the football games with Mario, I think. Is it N level or something? I'm probably completely wrong.
Mario Smash Hits.
All the best songs.
I think I might be completely wrong, so I might be an idiot, but I don't know if it's an actual Nintendo team, but I think they've clearly had a lot of overseeing.
I've got a lot of time for that because I always bang on about this, but my favourite era of the Zelda games was when they were letting Capcom make loads of them.
They were good.
Just because they were all good. And they were coming out like every year. And even though they were all like quite similar, I'd play each one, I'd complete each one, and I'd love it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those weird situations where you kind of think, it would get really oversaturated and boring. But it didn't. And I think actually having all those different teams working on it. But since then, they've kind of almost been like, oh no, the fans want it to be just us making them. And I don't think that most people care. I didn't know that they were made by Capcom.
It feels like a Nintendo game. I think that's the biggest. It could well, but I could be wrong. It's made by Nintendo, but I'm pretty sure it's a team that is outside of Nintendo that have had a lot of overseeing. But it's not let down by that. It feels just like you would if let's say Miyamoto was heading up and stuff. I'm sure he's had some say in it, but it is very much classic Nintendo. It has the kind of charm. I know charm's a word we don't like using, but it's got that, the way the ghosts are designed, the way they kind of do little things in the environment, the way they're like wearing shades and stuff, and to block the light you're shining at them, and you have to wrestle the shades off them first before you can blind them and stuff. And the like music and little touches here and there, and it's just very nicely designed. And it, even though it's on the 3DS, which isn't the most powerful thing going, it works really well. And you don't think, God, I wish this was on a Wii U or something.
I'm really looking forward to just spending a lot of time with my 3DS soon, actually. I'll put some time in my diary or something. Because the problem is, I find myself in my bedroom at night, and I will think, I could play something on my 3DS. But I've got a PC there, and I just end up playing the same things again and again.
Yeah.
I play Dota in the same way that you might play Championship Manager or something. When it's a shame, because at the moment, I think the 3DS is the strongest.
Yeah.
There's
a
a
lot going for it at the moment.
So many good games.
I was chatting to my friend Steve Hoggerty the other day, and he said at the moment, if anyone said to me, like, everyone's all arguing about like Xbox and PS3 and stuff, and it's like, if you were going to get one other console, like your other console, it should be a 3DS.
Yeah.
And it's completely spot on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, in terms of like the unique games you get on there that you can't get anywhere else, like Kid Icarus, the new Fire Emblem is supposed to be spectacular, and I love Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Castlevania came out recently.
Castlevania was awesome as well.
And then you've still got the stuff, like, it had I think, dry period last year a little bit, but you've still got the stuff they released, like you've got Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
you've got Mario Kart, you've got Super Mario 3D Land. There's a lot of stuff that is definitely worth getting for the 3DS now.
And by the time from recording this till it goes live, Nintendo may have announced some new games for 3DS.
Yeah,
they've got
true.
a direct thing later today, and from what I can tell, there are some big games coming out of that.
There was the
love.
retailer leak of Majora's Mask, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like, whether or not that is a thing, like, it seems likely, doesn't it?
Majora's Mask as well is weirdly, because they've had lots of kind of the remakes of Ocarina of Time, and they've kind of tooled it up a bit and added a tiny bit of new content. But they've never really given Majora's Mask the same
I don't think
attention.
it exists outside the Nintendo 64, does it? Apart from if you want to emulate it or something.
No.
I don't think you can do it.
And I don't know what it is. It's probably because the whole
so bizarre.
game had that bizarre edge to it. But I get the impression that Majora's Mask is a game that probably had quite a lot of stuff that might have been cut. I don't know.
It does feel...
It feels like rough, but in a way that I really like.
Yeah.
But I'd be really interested to see if they do make a new version, just to see if there are some extra...
I would like to
stuff.
see how, quote-unquote, new Nintendo makes Majora... I don't think you can make that game accessible, and that's their big thing. I think they just have to say, look, this isn't for you. This is for the people 15 years ago.
They didn't bother with Ocarina of Time, did they? No. That was just the old game. I think it had some little video guide things, but it really didn't hold your hand at all. It was the same game.
But you had the... those weird clock things that never really made any sense would help you as well this time. They never used to help you before.
I love those things.
They're awesome, aren't they?
Because they're just like so mysterious.
Exactly.
And when you realise...
Never explained.
And never explained. And I love the fact that when you realise, I think it was particularly in Majora's Mask, that when you played the different tunes to them, they did different things.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you get a fairy and it was just that realisation of being like, whoa, what about this song?
That's classic Nintendo, isn't it? Never telling you what you're supposed to do and just letting you find your own way. But I don't think with the whole time thing in Majora's Mask, I don't think there's any way you can, because you have to do the whole, it's repetition, Majora's Mask. So when you get to the end and you fight the moon, or whatever it is, you know exactly what to do and when. You do it in about, 60 minutes or something, don't you? That if you actually have your final playthrough.
I'd love to see somebody playing Majora's Mask for the first time who didn't know anything about it.
Especially if they were like 15.
Oh, I know. It's just the mystery of the moon. And the fact that when you first played it, all you were told is that the moon is coming. And as it gets closer and closer, I can't exactly remember that feeling, but I'm pretty sure it didn't tell you that you were going to be able to go back, right? I don't know. You just had this sense of being like, you just start the game and then the moon's crashing into and then the moon crashes in.
It's really dark as well, that game.
What happens now? I half expected it to do an Ocarina of Time thing of like 7 years later.
But no game ends.
Yeah.
Start again. What?
It's
so good.
Oh, it's
so
such
good.
a weird game.
Yeah.
But also, I'm looking forward to playing it again if they do re-release it, just because Ocarina of Time, I killed it too much. And every time I play it, I'm like, I know every inch of this game. Yeah. Whereas Majora's Mask is like really fuzzy still.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I don't really remember.
Because you needed the expansion pack as well, didn't you, to play it? And that kind of, I think he did. The
Did you?
64 double, was it actually called the 64
No.
double D?
It's just called the RAM pack, wasn't it, or something?
No, they
you
never
mentioned
released the
packs,
double D over here.
I thought you needed that
You
thing
might
you
have
put in
done.
it to use it.
I don't know.
Did you not? I don't
No,
know. I
there was
can't remember.
rumours for ages. I don't know how legit they were. There were rumours for Ocarina of Time that there was an area on the world map that was a bit empty and that they were going to make an expansion pack for the game,
They could.
which
They
would
may
use
well
the
have
double
been,
D.
They may well have done that because they had ideas for that, didn't they? That just never happened. Really,
it's really
so-
annoying because it was like,
That'd be
somebody,
awesome,
it must
yeah.
be somewhere. Just
Yeah,
finish
just
it off.
waiting to be done.
But yeah, I'm really excited to see what.
I would like that to be one of the games, but I do hope they bring out some new stuff as well because Nintendo recent years have relied a lot on that old stuff.
I
think.
really want them to sell me a Wii U. At the moment, I'm
Yeah,
kind
I'd
of on
like
the
that.
verge. I've come close to it, mainly because what I've been playing lately, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the 3DS, just because we played a little bit on the live stream on the Wii U, and I was just bamboozled and lost, but I quite liked it. But because you can transfer the saves between the Wii version and the 3DS version, I just popped my save onto my 3DS.
Always good.
Took it off, and I'm now about 15, 20 hours in, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just at the point I thought I knew what I was doing. It's like, no, you don't.
It
No,
keeps changing, doesn't it? Yeah.
it's so complicated. Almost to the point of being like, oh, get lost.
Yeah.
Like the skill system just seems like
I'll never be able to play that game.
it's like +2 to gluttony. What does that mean? How is that? I mean, some of them are like +2 heat resistance. It's like, I can deal with that. Like,
Yeah.
I know, but what is gluttony?
I don't know. You can eat less.
And it talks about like different class types that I don't even know how you change them, and I don't even know what's going on. I'm really enjoying being lost in it. But I mean, I've been tempted to buy a Wii U just so I can transfer it
jump
back
across, yeah.
and play it on a big screen. But it's just like, no, not enough.
I have no reason to buy a Wii U at the moment. There's nothing out there that makes me think I have to buy this machine.
That's
There's some
the thing,
good games, but not games I want to drop 250 quid to play. And that's the problem.
And I think a lot of the people are acting like people are being unnecessarily harsh about the Wii U. And I see a lot of people who kind of try and defend it, who are like, oh no, there's loads of good games to play. It's like, no, there aren't. You're kind of doing like what I did when I had an N64 before all the good games came out, of being like, look, you can.
where you think Snowboard Kids is a big
Yeah, precisely. You're like, we've got
I was
Snowboard
there.
Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I convinced myself
Snowboard
that was a
Kids.
good game.
It was it?
It was all right.
I loved it though.
Yeah,
But it probably wasn't that
It
good.
wasn't like buy an N64 because of Snowboard Kids.
No.
Good.
No.
If you've got a Wii U, you can probably convince yourself that there are some decent games to buy. But
Yeah.
if you're still, I don't want to buy one yet. There's not enough.
No,
to
that's
make
what I
you-
think, yeah.
Yeah, I was asking Tom earlier in the week, like, what have we covered for the Wii U recently? It was Lego City
Yeah.
of the Cover. That
Yeah.
was the
That's
last
good
one.
though, that game.
Oh yeah, it is.
That looks quite good, but still,
there's
it's
just
not.
we haven't got a list of
That isn't a
of-
game that I think I'm going to buy a Wii U.
And
to buy
actually,
that.
I mean, I must say for that, we only played very briefly, but for a game that was specifically designed for that console, the load times were unforgivable. It was just like, this is made for one console. Having
Yeah.
a lack of optimization that means load
Yeah.
times of a minute plus. Just no.
Yeah,
No.
I can't handle load times anymore. I'm an impatient man. I've got a lot to do.
I'm a busy man.
You can't keep me loading.
But yeah, it says a lot actually that I have been almost thinking, well, there's no point buying it with you. I could probably just borrow the Office one for a week because we have so infrequent use of it.
Yeah.
No one would notice.
Nobody would notice. But I know it's a shame because I do at the moment. I am falling back in love with Nintendo because I think they've remembered what they've missing.
Yeah.
And that Nintendo magic that is why we've always loved them. That has been missing for a while, I think. And
Yeah.
I think
the Wii U will become good, I think, because I'm bored of thinking that Nintendo will get it wrong.
Yeah.
And then them just saying, no, we knew exactly what we were doing. I just don't know when.
But do you reckon the Nintendo magic went? Or do you reckon we just got older? That's the thing I've never been sure about. Because I remember when I played Mario Kart on the Wii,
It
I
definitely
really
went with
didn't
that.
like it.
No, there was no Nintendo.
I felt like
magic
it
with
had
that.
no soul.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But the DS one did, and so did the 3DS one. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's when Nintendo decided we'll use the Wii as our, casual machine or however you want to describe it, but our handhelds will keep to sort of people that have been there the whole time. Because Skyward Sword was really good.
Yeah.
That was a really good
really wanna play
classic
that.
Zelda game. I mean, it didn't do anything sort of amazingly different, but it was a really well crafted Zelda game. And although anybody could get into a Zelda game if they wanted to, that was definitely aimed more at people like us.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's almost like they don't really know what they want to do. Well, they didn't back in that time. They're kind of just throwing stuff at everybody and hoping to see what stuff.
I really hope they make a HD version. I mean, we were saying obviously we don't want them to keep just rehashing their old catalogue, but if they make a HD version of Skyward Sword for the Wii U, I think that might be
Any HD Zelda
I'll do
game
that.
would be incredible.
Well,
I'll take anything.
we've got thingy, haven't we? Coming. What's it called?
Majora's,
Wii U.
the Wind Waker.
Wind Waker's coming.
Oh,
in.
Wind Waker.
Yeah, it's out in like autumn.
Wind Waker.
I mean, it could, if it's going to take years for the next proper Zelda, we could well see
I
HD.
never got Wind Waker. Really, everyone was always like, "It's wonderful." And I played it
I
quite
liked it a lot, but
I never got it.
I think of all the games to remake in HD, that's the worst choice. It still looks good now.
That's true.
If you put it on your GameCube, that was the whole point of the art style, is that it holds up. So I have a nice sheen to it, and it's a great game, but it's a strange one. I'll probably play it. But again, I'm not going to buy a Wii U to play
No.
Wind Waker.
That's the thing is, I
I'll play it
wouldn't
on my
buy
GameCube.
I wouldn't buy it. Yeah, I wouldn't buy Wind Waker. I give up on that sentence. I hereby put my lips on the table. I give up.
Still, Wii U, I think it will come good next year.
I really hope it does. The thing was with the Wii U is when they first tried to announce it, and I say tried to announce it, there was just an absolute botch. And the thing was, it was just so confused, and they went, "Oh, it can do all these things," and it ended up the people who were defending it were the people who were at E3, and they were just going, "No, you've got it all wrong." But it's like, well, no, the only reason you're saying that is because after you saw that mental video, they took you into another room and showed you it, and then you got it. But for everyone else in the world, particularly just consumers who just tune in and go, "Oh, what's new games things happening?" It was so weird.
I'm clearly not as big a Nintendo fan as you guys, but do you not think the Wii U's kind of running out of time? But don't they need to get people buying the console before the next one?
They've got more money than sense.
I think the problem with the Wii U is, from my point of view, is that I don't know anyone who would play it. Say you sit down and here, play Nintendo Land with us. I think then you like it. I think that not many people wouldn't like that experience, but then I don't think that's enough to get people to buy it.
It isn't. No.
It's not. No. It's not a. Like, I'd be happy to play a Wii U. Someone says, "Oh, go and play this with me." Fine, but I'm not going to hand over 250 quid, whatever.
Well, that's why the Wii was. I mean, I was sort of I was massively like into the market research analyst side of things when the Wii was coming out, and it was just spectacular seeing why people liked it. But it was because it was a toy, and I've always said the Wii was a toy, and people always act that like that's something a derogatory thing to say, but it wasn't. It was awesome. It was just something that people went around someone's house and they had to go on tennis, and they went, "This is awesome," and the experience was, "I want this in my house."
It was like a Tamagotchi or a Furby. It hit that but it hit that demographic where you thought, I have to have one of these. And
it was the price point, which is enough that people thought, screw it, I'm going to buy one.
I think Microsoft or Sony would have been happy if someone had thought their new thing was a toy, if it had sparked like that did.
Yeah, well, they both tried, didn't they?
Well, exactly. So, I had no problem with the Wii. The Wii won me over. Like, when I went to the event years ago now, and I played Metroid and, Wii Sports. I did all of that. And I was like, this is fun.
But it's weird because Nintendo always seemed to design hardware for the purpose of selling games. And that's, they designed the Wii to sell Wii Sports. But the weird thing about the Wii U is ever since that confused reveal, I've just been sitting back and waiting going, what's this for?
But where are the Nintendo games for the Wii U?
Well, that's it.
That's the thing.
What's it for? Because it clearly, they must be, because they're always doing something. And I just figure like there will be that clicking moment where they'll show a game and you'll go, this is what you made it for, and this is what's going to sell it.
And then Microsoft and Sony go, quick, put something into production that makes we can do that.
Do one of them.
Yeah.
Smart glass.
Well, exactly. But I just don't know what that is at the moment. It will probably be one of the tested franchises. But when that comes, and how far, it can't, I'd imagine it's not a Zelda. No. If they're planning to do Wind Waker, that means I'd say Zelda's at least a year out, minimum. If
their Zelda production is just mentally out of whack. It's always
ages,
like, oh, give us time. And then they're like, we've done it. Oh, where's everybody gone? That's like,
it's true, actually, yeah.
Like for the past...
They've done that twice, haven't they? Twice. With Twilight Princess too.
It's been so long, and then they release it at the end of the generation. Yeah. It's like, just get yourself sorted out.
That's not the smartest thing.
Especially because also like the development cycles they have on these games are so long. Yeah. And yet when they do come out, and I don't like to be a fussy kind of like, oh, the graphics in this I've already got. But there are bits like in the, what's called the Majora's not
Skyward Sword?
No, the one before.
Twilight Princess.
Some of the textures in that game were atrocious.
Yeah, it felt like it had been developed a long time.
And it's like, you've been making this for 6 years. At least just get somebody to sort out that shrubbery, But
I guess they just look at it and go, we can't go all the way back into that without screwing this, without screwing that. And they're like, screw it, release it. I can't be bothered.
I don't want to look at it anymore.
Exactly.
Just get it out.
I bet it does get like that.
I'm sure it does, actually.
You're right, actually. It's a very good point. The release schedule of Zelda games is not like anything else.
It's mental.
And
especially, actually, annoyingly, the only times they've been on the money, it was with the DS ones.
Yeah.
And I didn't like them just because it was the same game twice. It was like, this time you're on a train.
It was, but... Spirit Tracks was better than Phantom Hourglass.
It was.
But it was
way too similar, wasn't it?
It was, and they just felt weak. They felt like someone had forgotten to put something in.
Yeah.
Like, especially with Phantom Hourglass, where you keep going back to that temple to get to the next floor. It's like, don't want to do that. Zelda's always been about sort of an expansive world that keeps getting bigger and bigger until you feel like you're part of something bigger than you. Whereas they didn't feel like that. Yeah. And the last sort of hour of Spirit Tracks is just weird. Some weird boss battle on a train. I don't know.
Phantom Hourglass, what was worst about that was the fact that it was like the whole going through the levels and going back to the same temple again and again. For those of you who haven't played it, the idea is that every time you go back to the temple, you can get further, but you have to do each floor you've already done again. And the way you make it easier for yourself is by using the DS's ability to make notes. So basically, he was like, hey, look, you can make notes. It basically, rather than being like, this is a cool thing you can do, it was like, yeah, you're going to do this like cool thing. Yeah. And it just became really tedious. When you got to like the 8th level, you're like, I've got to go through 8 floors. Yeah. And you just think, I don't want to.
It's almost like the opposite. They were almost like the Mario Kart Wii, Zelda's on the D. They just felt like they were trying to spread it too thin. And it didn't work. It didn't feel like a Zelda game. Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan.
Yeah, but fingers crossed we'll get some stuff announced this afternoon. Please don't just be Iwata handling bananas, even though I just love that.
If I get a brand new Mario game that takes advantage of either the 3DS or, something brand new, not something I've seen before with a 2 stuck on the end of it, which is new, they're fine. Yeah, I think I'll be pretty happy.
I'll be over the moon. I'll be jumping up and down.
Like I said, Mario. They sort of define the N64.
Yeah, none of that sunshine bollocks.
Do you know, I didn't mind Super Mario Sunshine, but not for the right reasons. I thought it was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but enjoy
Super Mario with a hose pipe.
All the best bits, I think I liked it for the bits without the hose pipe. All those little things were cool. But
it's just weird. Who made the decision to make those weird pineapple people canon? What do we need? What does the Mario universe need?
Pineapple people.
Obviously. In a tropical city.
That was weird. But I oddly like it. I oddly like that game. I don't know why.
I kind of liked it, but I disliked it because it wasn't Mario 64 2, and we still haven't had Mario 64 2.
Well, that's why I'm hoping we get on the Wii U.
Come on, just do it. 3DS. I mean, and the Galaxy stuff was nice, but let's just have
I do love Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I just want to hear the music from Bob-Omb's castle or whatever
awesome.
hill.
That would be awesome. I would take it.
Yeah. Nintendo, come on, pull your finger out. So, has there been any news this week? Has anyone seen any news scuttling around? Because obviously Dave's not here and he's been running around.
Ironically, Dave is scutting away with news right now, which is why he can't come in.
Writing the big story of the week right now.
The big story. Well, there is a big story today, isn't it? It's probably going to be live by the time this goes up. Right?
Easily. I mean, for FIFA 14.
FIFA 14.
It's I mean, FIFA's in that. I think we talk about this as well. FIFA seems to be in that year where it can't do much, because it's waiting until it can actually talk about the stuff it wants to do on the more powerful machines.
Yeah, it's going to be like leg physics out the wazoo next year.
Oh, that's it. And I remember when FIFA jumped onto a 360 and PS3, it was a weird transition. They didn't really know what to do, so it was this bizarre half football, half tech demo that never felt like a real game of football.
Very long grass.
It did have very long grass.
They're like, we can do grass, so let's make it far longer than it ever needs to be.
And there were so many weird glitches. I remember you couldn't skip substitutions. So you had to watch the whole substitution cutscene. There was no way of skipping it. I remember it was like, who missed this? But, it's that thing where they're doing so much.
I mean, I don't know much about football, but of all the cutscenes,
you don't want to see that. Everybody mashes the button to try and get through those. But it was kind of, glitches like that which just made you think you lost your way. Obviously, for a few years, play around with the tech they find, and everyone loves FIFA. FIFA 12,
I think with FIFA 12 was the one year. Because I remember I was working on an exam at this point, and I had to read through and sub all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And I don't care about football at all, but just reading about all the stuff the developers were banging on about in interviews, being like, "Look at what we're doing with these players' legs. Every muscle is a real muscle, and it's live synced to the actual player, so that if he hurts his leg,
he goes down,
he'll fall over immediately on
exactly.
screen."
And that stuff is cool, I think this year's one seems. They're getting finicky, so we'll add a few more. We'll give you greater control over your shots. Yeah. So you can do you can make the ball rise and dip with more.
Do you think though that they're going to fall into the same trap that FPS games did over the years of making it more and more complicated to the point that which actually you start to get a drop off and new players can't get into it because it's so complex?
They've done it a little bit with free kicks and penalties.
Free kicks
used to be the simplest thing. Like a penalty, you'd press the shoot button in a direction, and
that's what I'm up for. I don't understand penalties nowadays.
Penalties were best at ISS 64.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I like that one. Fine then. And then they've all gone a bit weird since then.
Because they feel like they need to make these improvements. They sometimes.
I think EA Canada has one of the hardest jobs in all of games development, because they're dealing with one of the most popular sports on the planet, and they have to change it to justify releasing one every year.
Yeah.
What do you do? This year, it's small little things. Now there's more control over shots. Now there's more control over defense. And then you think, well, where else do we go?
Yep.
Our animation's a bit better. Our ball control's a bit better.
Do you get the sense that sometimes they're just sort of changing things for the sake of it?
Oh,
Yes.
100%. Penalties is great.
Penalties is
I've always
example.
loved that with stuff like Facebook, where it's like, hey, it's an insanely big company that makes so much money, and because of that
Therefore,
employs so many
yeah.
people.
We need to keep our jobs.
And so they went through a period of like 1 or 2 years where it's like, hey, we've changed everything again. And it's like, why? Why do you keep moving everything around? It's like, shut up, I like my job.
I think the PC version will be the one to get this year, because I imagine that's where they'll implement all the next-gen stuff now, because they can.
But PC's never as. I think FIFA is a console game.
I completely agree, but I think in terms of if you want to
really see where it's going.
Yeah,
I reckon
PC
the
one
PC one would be gimped.
Or it will be
I
gimped.
reckon it'll be the same, and we'll get a next-gen version, and the PC one will be last year's game.
Maybe,
I
yeah.
think.
Maybe they release a World Cup version next year as their next gen.
How
thing.
big is the FIFA PC scene?
I don't
not as
really
big as it
know.
used to be.
I mean,
Because you can play with a pad, right?
yeah.
I mean, I get slagged off by PC
It
gamers
is,
for that. But I love playing with a pad.
It is better, but the PC version is, if you've got a reasonable PC, it's the better version. It's smoother,
Right. Yeah.
considerably smoother than it is on console. But I don't know. It took a long time for this version of FIFA as is now to be on PC, because they were quite often. A few years we got like the PS2 game and iRes, and then eventually they did the whole next gen 360 PS3 engine on PC, and then finally it was the same. But I've got a feeling that, because at the moment they're only talking about current gen, which includes PC. So who
That's
knows?
true, yeah.
Who knows if we're going to get a next gen game and on the PC? as
Thinking
well.
about it, actually, like that whole scenario of just blokes going home from a pub and switching on and playing some FIFA, I do think actually where PC's becoming more dominant and taking a chunk from the console market, but I just wonder, will the PC ever have the right kind of branding? Or even with Steambox stuff, can it ever get to that stage of being like the thing that
maybe, but
Yeah, but
people
it's-
whack on after
with the
the pub?
console, it's just so easy to you grab the couple of controllers and it's
Because I
done.
don't have that
It's-
kind of friend, but I just imagine if I did roll home with that kind of friend all pissed, and I'm like, let me switch the
Yeah.
PC on, they'd just be like, lol, geek. And I'm like, look, it doesn't. We're doing the same thing. We're playing FIFA.
Yeah, come on,
Shut up.
we're lads.
all of my FIFA friends, it's always console.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'd be adverse to playing on a PC.
But then you get the arguments about the pads and stuff, don't you? I suppose.
yeah, who knows? But I mean, I think this will be one of the more.
Lackluster.
I'm going to say controversial, not controversial, but I think it would divide people more than it usually does.
The thing that concerned me was when Steve came back from the FIFA event, and I was like, "What's the big new thing?" There wasn't. He didn't really.
Yeah, there's not really anything.
Yeah, Steve
Yeah,
hates
the-
games, though, doesn't he? That's the problem.
and,
Steve does
and
hate
events
games.
and people, and
And Steve still believes that PES is better than
Wait,
FIFA.
so that
And he means it as well. He's not saying it
I know,
to be
and
facetious.
he does
means
believe it,
Yeah.
but I just think he's wrong.
he is wrong.
It's fine. He
Yeah.
can believe what he wants.
It's like with people who are religious. It's like, I genuinely believe that you believe it, but no. Do you reckon, I mean...
Well, there's the
it's gonna
comments for this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
bring it on. My dad's a vicar. I've had this conversation. It's boring. But yeah, I mean, Call of Duty, they've done the same thing already. They've already written off this year, haven't they? I love that basically last year they went, yeah, we're not going to sell as many next year. It's like,
I always thought for Black Ops 2 it would be not. When I say a drop off, I mean a slight drop off, as it was. Like
Yeah.
slight, and I don't think it will go away for a long time because they have timed it perfectly, not intentionally, with next gen machines.
yeah, it's true.
And they got 1 year where they can go, look how good it looks, and the sales will rocket again, and then the next year after that they have to be smart about what they do in terms of feature set and whatnot. But I mean, I think this year's Call of Duty will be an also-ran as well. I just think it'll be like, meh. Because everyone else just wants next-gen stuff. You can see that just by looking online. Everybody wants next-gen stuff.
What sort of mental physics are we going to have in the next FIFA? FIFA 15, when we've got the power to do whatever we want with
It
these
should be
people's feet and
almost,
legs.
and I say almost realistic, I don't mean that, but it should be crazy realistic. If everything we're being shown is true, with all these engine demos and stuff, FIFA should just be incredible.
The ball have a mind of its own?
It should be like that. I mean, the ball should just be
You get
perfect.
to play as the ball, otherwise I'm not in.
And I'm really intrigued. This is the saddest thing I'll ever say is what you do when you have sort of bad weather and strong wind and how that affects the ball. Because that'd be incredible. I know it won't be entertaining, but I would love that shit.
I'd
love that
like to
shit.
play that if it's like the crazy ball mode,
Yeah,
where
I'd
it's
love
just
that.
going all over the place.
Yeah.
Or maybe
You're
we
in
could
a
have-
tornado.
Maybe we have a third player, right, where you've got
Plays
two people
the wind.
playing,
Oh, gosh, that
and one
won't
person
happen.
plays the wind, and you can just
That
sort
would
of
be
like...
That's the Wii U version right
and
there.
3DS you can blow in the
So you can
wind.
actually blow
Oh
on it.
gosh, I don't play that.
This is the sort of thing that would get me interested in football. Or the equivalent of like multi-ball mode, maybe, where you just fire like 8 of them onto the pitch, but only for 10 minutes.
It will happen.
Oh, I'd love
with
that.
DLC.
Let's do it. Let's do this. And in the other news world of the news world.
Well, it would seem that Danger Close doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
I say seem, apparently, we'll use all those words, but we all saw that EA did lay off a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we all know that Medal of Honor has been killed. That's been
The
announced.
thing was, I heard an internal rumour bubbling around at a press show a couple of years ago that the reason Danger Close were called Danger Close as a studio was because actually it was Danger Close, and if Medal of Honor didn't do well, they were going to get closed.
It was much easier that way. There's a big sign above the workplace just reminding everyone, remember what you have to do.
I kind of heard that said, and I don't know how much of a joke it was, but to be honest, it sounds like, I don't know, but it sounds like they were always a studio that were running on a thin
It
ice.
certainly hasn't been confirmed, but they made 2 games that didn't do anywhere near what EA wanted in terms of sales or critical, opinion. Can I never pronounce his name? Greg Goodrich, who was the man there, left earlier this year. A lot of people have left in the last 3 months. Like, all you have to do is have a quick look on LinkedIn or, have a look at their Twitter accounts and it would seem that Danger Close is no more. Obviously, EA refused to comment.
I guess it must be hard. I mean, at the moment, I think the pinch with the whole next gen is a lot about like just the cost of money they're going to have to put these games into. If you've got people who can't make good games this gen, then it's like,
That's the thing. I mean, Medal of Honor, I know when it came back, it wasn't what it used to be, but it was a franchise that a lot of people loved. That used to be the big boy in town. And it didn't do well. So why keep injecting? It's horrible because I never like to see anyone lose their jobs, ever. No. But from an EA point of view, if they think we can't get anything out of this, I mean, that's why they've laid off everybody else, isn't it? It's horrible and it's terrible because, whoever wants to lose it.
It's tough. I mean, especially for these big companies, they're in a horrible position because, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but like companies like EA and Activision, these big guys, same with retailers, they've built up these heavy lumbering companies around an infrastructure which is now just changed.
Exactly, and they don't know what to do about it.
The only way they can survive is by being pretty brutal.
Well, that's why they're big companies, aren't they? Because they don't mind about doing that.
First-person shooters, one of the most competitive genres out there. Medal of Honor, the last 2 haven't been good.
I think they were floating out there because at that point they maybe didn't know whether or not Battlefield was going to become
I think it was like
a thing.
One of these is going to be their big game, and Battlefield clearly won. So.
Yeah, and I actually, to be honest, if I've never been that sure about Battlefield becoming as big as it has because I love it.
15 million did it sell?
Yeah,
Battlefield 3?
Yeah, it's insane.
Crazy, yeah.
And I wouldn't have guessed that, to be honest. If somebody said to me, I wouldn't have predicted that because I've always felt like they're a bit too complex. But
I totally agree.
It shows what I know because people love this stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
But so
go people.
Like I say, it certainly hasn't been confirmed, but I would say it's very, very likely that studio no longer exists, which is a shame. And that means Medal of Honor was dead anyway, but don't expect to see that ever again.
Maybe this is the beginning of the end for the first-person shooter.
Do you know what? I would like a new. Remember it was platformers and then RPGs kind of pretended to do it, but not really. I would like a new genre.
I want the cartoon kart racer genre to come back.
Anything, just any new genre that can actually be competitive for a little bit. I'd be well up for because I mean, you know what? Fair play if you like first-person shooters. I dabble with them, but I am bored of them.
Yeah, I reckon we've hit the point in first-person shooters where we hit with Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, when it was just like we don't need this.
Just where I was actually really excited about it, and then it came out and I thought this is everything.
Just have to collect a load of bananas.
Yeah, so many bananas.
Exactly.
I swear there were like 8 different types of bananas you had to collect in that game, like gold ones, red ones, blue ones,
unripe.
Here's Icy Kong. You've not met him before because he didn't exist until a week ago. Oh God, send help.
Yeah,
fuck that game.
But I mean, I don't know what I would want to become the new, money maker, new cash cow of video games. But anything. But
I hope it's like
exploration games.
I hope it's the like narrative led drama. I hope it's like Walking Dead, like episodic narrative.
Yeah, honestly, any game's good with a good narrative with me.
And that's the sort of thing where you could just genuinely say, yes, this is better than television. Bye television, and let's hammer in the final nail in the coffin of that archaic, nasty, noisy box of colours.
But it won't be that. It will be endless runners.
I was going to say that. I think you're probably right.
That's going
SEO Squirrel Jump.
Yeah,
that's going to be the big game of 2014. I hear. Keep hearing a lot of buzz about SEO Squirrel Jump, and of course Dragon Rally, which is coming out in 2019.
Can you turn that into an endless runner?
I probably can.
Yeah.
At the moment, I think it's either going to be an endless runner or a Skyrim mod. Consequently, if anyone knows
different things,
if anyone knows how to mod Skyrim and make rally cars in Skyrim, do give me a call.
Especially if your name is Bethesda.
A little unpaid commission for you, Bethesda, if you want to do a bit of work now you're done with Skyrim. And I've got something to keep you very busy. Let's jump over some of the questions. We haven't got any questions from Twitter this week because I forgot to ask on Twitter because I'm an idiot.
That's fine.
We've got some questions from the forum, though.
We have indeed. NGZ on the forums asks, what game have you never got around to playing but really wish you had?
Oh, too many.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
The Oddworld games I've never played,
Yeah,
but
that's
people
on my
seem to rave about them, so I always feel like I've missed out.
I'm very ashamed to say I haven't ever played Chrono Trigger.
Oh, that's a great game.
Yeah, you should
Really
definitely
great.
I hear so, Matt.
It's still like, it's the sort of game that you'll play it and you'll go, why? What? It's one of those weird games where you think, why hasn't everyone stolen this? It's like the active reload thing from Gears of War.
Yeah,
Everyone's stolen Horde mode. Nobody's stolen that.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple, lovely idea. But Chrono Trigger is full of so many awesome things that you think, why didn't this become a thing?
Yeah, so true. Such a good game.
I'd love to play Okami actually as well.
Yeah.
But everybody says, oh, it's really long. And I'm like, no, that's not.
I couldn't get into Okami.
a turn on for me.
I found it boring, which I know makes me a horrible person. I should die in the fires of hell.
And actually,
But
what's the one before Shadow of the Colossus?
Ico.
Never played it.
Never
very
played
good game. It's a
Ico.
very good
That's
game. Or
quite
Eco
short as
or
well,
ICO,
so you could
whatever
get
it is.
through that.
It's an incredible game. Both, but I think as long as you buy into those concepts, I get it why people don't get those games.
Yeah.
But if you do, they're both just, Eco, or how you pronounce it, is as good as Shadow of the Colossus in its own special
I really
way.
want to play it.
It's not as good as Shadow of the Colossus.
That's all right then. Because Shadow of the Colossus blew my mind.
Oh, they both blew. They're like, they don't even get scores, those games from me. They're so good. They exist in their own little plane.
I felt like I was in a whirlwind of emotions.
It's just brilliant. It's just such a good
I loved
game.
it when I was sat in my student house playing it, and I was like, I didn't want to say it to my housemate because he didn't really play games, but I was getting quite upset about killing some of the monsters.
Oh, yeah.
And because this was kind of not pre-internet, but pre that level of discussion, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to feel like that. And I was like, am I being a massive pansy? And it was a wonderful moment where my housemate, who was just sitting there eating digestive biscuits, said, why did you kill that? And I was like, oh God, thank God. Like,
I saved my dead girlfriend.
that he felt like he was really angry with me that I'd killed something beautiful for what he could see no reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, I needed to because I need to bring him back.
Some of the colossi deserve to die. That giant snake thing was disgusting
He had it
and
coming.
horrific. That thing needed to be dead.
But the flying one in the desert,
That's
Oh,
amazing.
that is ridiculous, that is.
That's one of the best bits in any game ever.
I know.
Yeah.
It really, that game has a lot of best bits in any game ever.
I can just watch gifs of that bit where you jump onto its wing
Yeah.
over and
Just
over
on
again.
repeat, yeah.
Beautiful.
What a great game. Honestly.
great game.
What a game.
Tom, you got any games that
Mass
you haven't-
Effect. I
It's
bought.
cracking.
Well, I might miss Mass Effect, but Mass Effect 2 anyway. I bought fairly recently because I thought I should play this.
It's like play
question-
from Mass Effect 1,
Yeah,
but whack it on easy.
Right.
Because you don't want,
Yeah. It's not about,
you don't want the combat to be a
Yeah.
challenge at all.
Especially in the first Mass Effect, I think.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Yeah,
Of all
I
of
bought.
them.
I went through a phase of buying games that I should have played but didn't.
To try and guilt yourself
'cause I
into doing
bought. This was years ago now, but I bought Final Fantasy VII because I never got that far into it. I kind of hated it really. So I bought that and Vagrant Story.
Vagrant Story is
And
tough as balls.
both games I've played about in Final Fantasy I've played quite a lot of, to be fair. But
The thing is,
never
like,
got that far into it because it's quite big. But
Vagrant Story, I think, is a bit overrated. I like it, but when I played it years later, I found it just really hard to get into, and it was just so hardcore. I think I can see at the time it would have been one of those games that was so different that it would have really been exciting.
Yep.
But that was one of those games I thought I need to play
Oh,
this because
God.
apparently it's a classic.
I'm exactly
So
the same
tough.
with Final Fantasy VII. I came into it too late. I'm a massive fan of the series, but 7, because it's that really early stage of the 3D, it's a bit jarring to
I
try
love
and
the
get into
story
that.
though in 7. I love the story.
But the fighting, just the constant like summons and stuff, it just, at the time, I can see why people rave about it now, but it's one of those games that when you come in at a later point,
I know what you mean, especially with the summons. It's like Knights of the Round. That is literally like go and make a cup of tea.
Exactly. and then come back and do it again.
Yeah. Or if you've got the right material equipped, it does it twice anyway.
Oh, goodness.
Madness. Those
Oh,
times.
and answer the question again, Bastion. Because I've bought that
right.
now on Xbox, PC, and iOS. I still haven't played
I'll
it.
tell you what, Bastion's a nice game, but it's not that good. It's
I'm
enjoyable.
glad I bought it 3 times then.
It's a bit much, I think, yeah.
Okay, well, that actually leads on to the next question quite
Did
well.
you like
talking about-
Bastion?
So, yeah. Tom, do you like Bastion? Yeah, no, it's, what game needs a HD remake? Obviously, Final Fantasy VII, people talk about that all the time.
You know what, actually,
Is there
I had an interview with one of the dudes who made Final Fantasy VII a couple of years ago, and he said something really interesting. I've got awesome chat with him, actually. It was really unexpected because most interviews are boring as hell. But he said that people keep asking for a HD remake, and we don't want to make it because that game is like, it's set in stone. It's a thing in time, and people love it so much that actually to recreate the game in HD, they would need to make it. They couldn't just redraw everything.
Yeah.
They need to make it different. And so much of it was so fuzzy and hazy and broad strokes.
And you can't do that.
They'd need to make it almost a 3D game, and they'd need to remake it to the point that actually they would undoubtedly be doing it bad service, and people wouldn't like it. And he would rather that people's memories just stay the same.
Yeah, I think he's right.
And it's like, go you, dude. Like, we think
Is that how you responded?
I think, pretty much. I think that might have been my exact words. I don't know. He didn't.
I do think though, Square are getting to the point where maybe they might have to
do it anyway
at some point,
Just make some
because
cash.
it would sell 1 billion copies, and it may be getting near that time. Emergency button,
Possibly.
I'd like an HD remake of RC Pro-Am. It's a long forgotten rare remote control game, and it was brilliant. It was so good. It was so simple, and the multiplayer was ridiculous. I would like I asked for this. I've emailed her about 5 or 6 times now saying I think you should do this. No, they ignore it.
I'd like a HD remake of Space Station Silicon Valley.
Oh yes, see stuff like that. All those games.
Because that game looked like crap when it came out.
Yeah, it did. I remember I rented it of all things. I was like, "This real? This the right version? This doesn't look good."
It felt like a bootleg game.
What the hell is it? I've never heard of it.
Oh man, it was so good.
It's very unique.
It was. I think it was on the PlayStation as well, but it's called Evo, I think. But the idea was that you were a microchip that like tissed along, and you could.
Did it have you got legs? I guess on this
idea,
microchip,
really.
or just
you were like it was a little kind of the little copper things on the end of a microchip were like your legs.
Okay,
but
makes
you
sense.
were in Space Station Silicon Valley was basically like a zoo full of
so
robot
weird.
animals, and you had to go around jumping into animals, and it was like you had the food chain, so you'd have to start with something small to get into something bigger,
Right,
And
okay.
you transfer yourself from one animal to another, but then each animal had its own abilities, and they weren't just normal animals; they were like robot animals. So you had like polar bears that could fire rockets, and,
this is sounding good.
and penguins that could drop mines, and and like dogs on wheels that would zoom around, and it was the whole game was
mental.
It was
That was,
mental, but it barely worked. It was so like some of the animals were impossible to control. Like the penguins, I think, were just a nightmare.
I imagine if you watch that on YouTube, it's going to look so. I remember it looking bad then.
Oh god!
If you look at that now, I bet it looks.
I think I've
hideous.
got the PlayStation version at home. I might bring it in.
Yeah, please do a video.
Just because it's
incredible.
so weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I'm not sure it can match my already very high expectations now that you've said dogs on wheels and polar bears with rockets.
I think it would. It's just, it was one of those games where it was really, really sporked. It was like the whole thing was just really broken, and it barely worked at times. And some of the levels were so frustrating because of it, because you had to do like crazy hard platforming. Right. But it was just such an ambitious idea, such a weird idea. It was the same thing of Blast Core, of really like you kept going.
That's
you kept
amazing,
going
though.
because you wanted to see what thing you get next. And with Space Station Silicon Valley, it was like you wanted to know
Where the
what
hell's it
animal
going?
you were going to get next and what it would do. I know, it's wicked.
But the actual answer to all these is PGR2.
right. Yeah, of course.
I really like PGR3. I thought it was really
PGR3 is the third best PGR game.
good. What's the second?
Well, the best is PGR2,
Right.
then PGR4,
PGR4 is good as
then
well.
PGR3.
I think I love PGR3 just because when it came out, it was new and
It was
Xbox was
incredible at
shiny
the
and
time,
stuff. Yeah.
but it isn't as good as PGR2.
You know what? I go for a nice HD version of Mario 64, actually. Just
I was thinking
because-
that. Or GoldenEye. I know it almost came out and there's a load of problems, but in terms of just in Dreamworld, a version of that game where I can actually play it without being disgusted by how like old and rubbish it is would be lovely.
That sounds good. And the final question comes in from Duckman0121, who asks,
specific.
Yeah.
a game that everyone else likes but you hate. I know my answer to this.
I can't. If I say what I want to say, that's now. I've been on 3 podcasts.
Assassin's
and I've been
Creed, I
told
hate-
Assassin's Creed every time, but it's Assassin's
But
Creed.
have you played the second one?
I still haven't played it.
Oh, well, this is it,
Yeah,
man.
this is why-
It's people like you.
We don't. We don't. It's true.
I
Killing the game industry.
No, because I've heard that a lot of times, and actually I have got some friends. I love the guys at Midnight Resist podcast. You know, I've known loads of them for a long time, like 10 years plus. But like that's one thing that really riles me up is some of the guys on there, like they still slag off Assassin's Creed like
Without
it's this
playing
really
the good
boring
one,
thing.
yeah.
And they have played the second one, but I think their hatred for it is so high that it's actually clouded their judgment, and it must have done, because Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood are great games.
I will play them. I promise I'll play them for
honestly,
the end of the year.
you'll love Assassin's Creed 2. It's great, but the first game was balls.
Yeah, that's what
and
I think.
at that point, I was like, has everyone gone mental? Because everyone's like, oh, I love Assassin's Creed. It's like, really? Because it's terrible, and you're wrong. And that's one of those things where all the reviews came out, and it was like, no.
Yep.
My one, I don't hate. I think hate's a very strong word. I definitely don't hate this game, but something that came out last year that everyone seemed to really enjoy, and I just found disappointing, was Sleeping Dogs.
I haven't played enough of that, but I was
haven't
quite
played
impressed
it.
by that.
I went in with the wrong kind of thoughts about it. I was hoping, because he's with the Triad, but he's actually a police officer, and there's that kind of crossover. Like, how far do you go before you're no longer a member of the force?
That's not much of the game.
It's the story,
and
I was really hoping that's what I went in hoping for, because I've been watching a lot of like The Wire.
That just kind of happens rather than you being involved in it particularly as a choice.
Yeah, and because of that, it's one of those things where it clouds your judgment when you've just got that in the back of your mind from the get go. Like you kill a lot of people in that game, and yet they'll talk about how when you first shoot someone in this kind of warehouse, it's like a big, you've stepped over the line. You've already killed loads of people before that moment.
That's what games do really badly all the time. It's like the Tomb Raider thing.
Exactly,
oh my God, I've just killed someone. Oh well,
so
might as well kill everything while I'm here. And like the Far Cry 3 thing of like, oh, maybe this island's changing me. It's like, I thought that when you skinned a shark, dude, that you killed like by stabbing it in the water. You've been mental for ages. I think the answer to this is just make more game protagonists mental. Like I've been enjoying. I played a bit of the Dishonored DLC. I think we should have a review of that on the site this afternoon. But I like the fact that you get to play as a nutter.
Yeah.
You're an assassin. And you're not like an insane assassin, actually, but you are an assassin. And it means you start to enjoy playing the game how it's meant to be played. Yeah. And you start to relish killing people in horrible ways because you think, well, I'm an assassin.
Exactly.
Rather than being like, obviously the pitch for original Dishonored was, you're a supernatural assassin. It's like, no, you're not though. You're a nice guy who's been framed and you've got to kill some bad men. And so you constantly feel like you've got your dad over your shoulder going, well, don't just kill these people for no reason. You are supposed to be a nice man.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like it when games just go, nah, actually, you know what? You're not a nuanced character trying to balance your morality. You're an awful human being.
Like
have a whale of a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like with Dishonored, there's like serious consequences to the story if you do start.
Well, it just gives you a worse ending, which is kind of...
it makes you feel so bad about it, because there are a few games where I can play and know that I'm going to go down the bad route.
Well, even the Fable games, which actually kind of handle it better than most because they have that kind of...
It's very visual, isn't it?
Well, it's tongue-in-cheek as well. It's like that Monty Python evil. So you actually kind of get the funny evil.
Devil horns.
They still mess it up in the fact that it ends up like, if you do become completely evil, then you just can't talk to anyone in towns and you can only have sex with prostitutes, and it just becomes this caricature that's not fun. And that's something that I think games are too interested in making you evil, when actually I'd rather have games that let you be a bastard, because being a bastard is more fun. But I think the game that's overrated out most is probably GTA 4. Just because even at the time I was like, I loved it, but some of those missions can just dick off.
But the real answer is Final Fantasy 7.
Whoa.
Hate? Or...
No, I do. Hate it.
You hate it?
Couldn't.
What about the Chocobo?
So boring.
What about the Chocobo racing?
Yeah, Chocobo racing. I got quite far.
You got that far? Fair enough.
But I still hate it.
Yeah, I hate Final Fantasy X as well.
No.
Final Fantasy X, lots of people love, but I agree.
Brilliant.
I haven't played it, but I probably hate it.
It's absolutely brilliant.
I cried.
Final Fantasy X?
I'm not ashamed to admit it.
It's fantastic.
At the end.
Just drop the questions.
I didn't think that was that sad.
Well, it was sad.
I was sad when I had to
sad.
fight a boss on a giant ship and there was no save point. After that boss fight and I died, it made me do the boss again. I cried then. I hate that game.
I liked it a lot, but not a lot of people
loved it. I think a lot of people loved it. A lot of Final Fantasy fans I know think 10's the best.
I think it's one of the best.
Yep.
Even though the main character was a tit.
Yeah, he's such an annoying little shit.
Even though most of the characters in that game were tits. Whack off,
Nice.
guy.
What was that? Zero Ball?
Blitzball.
Blitzball. What
you know
was
what?
that?
I played a lot of that.
One of the best mini games ever.
No.
gibberish.
The best Final Fantasy minigame ever was the card game from Final Fantasy 8.
Actually, 8 and 9 both got good card games.
I can't remember what it's called, but it was brilliant. And if they released that in real life, I'd probably spend loads of money on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should just do a Final Fantasy special at some point.
I will not be involved. I've got nothing to say about
it will just be me for an hour with a really big coffee. And then there was this bit where I really cried. No,
I'm sure a lot of people would love it.
Hey, you know what? I'm a big enough man to admit that at the end of Final Fantasy X, I cried.
Fair enough.
If you did too, and if you've been touched by some of the issues in today's podcast, you can get in touch with me.
Don't tell Simon.
And we'll have a meet up. And we'll
hug.
Yeah. I just want you to hold me for a minute. Nothing else.
Before we move on, Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I don't get it.
To be honest, I didn't get that.
Do not get it. I've tried it numerous times. I think I reviewed one of them probably very badly back on PS2.
3's the trick for me, actually, because I've tried it with 2 on the PSP. I played that game for like 15 hours and didn't understand it still.
And I just don't... Because it's one of those games that people that like it so much. I think this must be good. there must be something I'm just not getting. I clearly don't get it because I can't get into it.
The best bit about the Monster Hunter, the latest one for me, is just reading people talk about it on Twitter and have absolutely no idea what they're on about. Do you know
it's brutal.
What was the last boss that you call? Any idea?
To be honest, like I don't know how anyone remembers the name of the monsters. It's all a load of bollocks.
And I enjoy just reading people.
Lakitu. I think I skinned a Lakitu.
Nice.
Sounds
And
good.
turned it into some trousers.
Wonderful.
I do like it, but I'm just fundamentally stunned that anybody's ever learned to play it, apart from me. I feel like I deserve a medal. And I've not really used the internet, which is something, I suppose. So that's the end of the questions.
I think so.
Who won the question round? I think it was Tom with 8 points.
Well done,
Congratulations.
Tom. Well done.
And finally, we got time for the Member of the Month competition. Obviously, Member of the Month, we do this every month. You can win a game in one of 3 ways. One, sign up on the forum and be funny or good and get people to go, hey, I like the cut of that guy's jib, and then you'll win a prize. Or secondly, by voting for people on the monthly competition. But first, we've got a proper competition which you can win through skill or wit or a combination of the two. And we thought for this month's competition, you've got a while to do it. You've got 3 weeks, I guess, before the next podcast. We'd like to hear a bit about something that's made up. So obviously LucasArts died a long time ago, but they died properly last week, really. And it did. But the thing is, like, everyone talked about how they missed, LucasArts so good. And all the memories, really, were from an era that was a long time ago.
I did like the first Force Unleashed game. I thought
I did. It was
the
fun.
first level as Darth Vader was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. It was totally amazing. These Ewoks getting smashed to shit. Oh, I loved it. No, it was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
More games should let you fuck up Ewoks.
Well, the thing is that I still long for the day when a developer has the balls to say, here's a Darth Vader game and you'll never die.
Honestly,
you
yeah.
just walk through and kick the shit out of anything for 8 hours. That's why the Superman games never worked. Superman game is you win. Before you even started, you've won the game. But just go enjoy being Superman for 8 hours.
The Superman game on the PS2 is the worst game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, if you can't die, then what is the death condition? Death
Exactly.
condition
The city, yeah.
The Metropolis
God,
getting
that was
hurt.
bad.
And it was like, why should I care about this cardboard city?
Exactly.
This is rubbish.
There's no reason. But anyway, that's a
that's
conversation
another-
for
that's
another
Why
time.
you're not Superman?
But yeah, that's one of the many reasons why I'm not Superman. I think it would just bore me, frankly. But yeah, basically, LucasArts games used to be awesome, and we all remember the point-and-click puzzle games very, very fondly. However, one thing which has not been talked about a lot, which should be, is the fact that some of those puzzles in some of those games of those era are just awful and evil.
Hard and horrible, yeah.
So hard.
They had the technical. Some of them are mind-boggling.
Yeah, and this was pre-internet,
Don't they all require a ball of yarn?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Well, that's maybe could be a theme. But what I'd like people to do for this week's, for this month's Member of the Month competition is to invent a fictional puzzle for a fictional game, and this can be in the form of simply just some pictures of some items that you need to combine to do something, or it can be a short paragraph or sentence from a kind of fictional FAQ explaining how to have the obvious answer to a puzzle in a game that you've just invented. And I want things that are suitably nonsensical. And these can be as elaborate or as brief and to the point as you like. So yeah, that's basically it. Invent a game, invent a tiny sliver of an FAQ.
You'll be a game developer. It's
and
easy.
you'll basically be a game developer.
Yeah,
so,
Ron Gilbert may ring it and ring you up. And go,
obviously, use the rubber chicken with the pulley on
Classic.
the zip line.
I mean,
it can be as short as that.
Out? How do we ever figure that stuff out?
I don't know. I remember classically that my experience with Sam and Max was that I played it around my friend's house,
gosh,
and he
so
said,
hard.
I said, oh, can we play the Sam Max game? It looks cool because I like the art style. And he said, nah, it's really boring. It's not really a game. All you do is you can drive down the freeway and jump through the signs, or you can go to this shop and look at stuff. And honestly, as like 10-year-olds or whatever, or 11-year-olds, we thought that was the whole game.
That's amazing.
And it wasn't until many years later that I realized that actually if you did a puzzle at the fairground, that there was more. And the game carried on.
Sam and Max especially is,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's
So
hard.
hard.
Because Full Throttle is pretty tough, but the thing with Full Throttle is it's short.
Yeah.
If you know everything you're doing in Full Throttle, you can do it in about 45 minutes. Sam and Max a long game.
I mean, I think the problem we got stuck on was Sam and Max, I think right at the start, you had to get the map from pulling outside of the kitten's stomach or something, and it's just like, what? And I loved it, but I don't know how we put up with it.
I don't know.
So I'd like these to come up with the kind of puzzle that nobody in their sane mind would put up with now. And you can do whatever you want. You can draw it, you can write it, you can interpretive dance, shadow puppets, whatever. But yeah, you've got a month. We'll announce a winner in podcast in about a month.
Yep, there'll be a forum post for those entries to go.
Yeah, there'll be a forum post so you can whack all that stuff in. And if we get enough good stuff, then we might put together a video like we did with the last one.
Yeah.
But get involved. You can win a game, and it's a game, any game you want. Shop2.net give us 3 games. So providing it's less than £50, which, to be honest, is pretty much any game you want.
All games, pretty much.
You can just have a game. So do it.
Pretty good
price.
All right. Okay. Right.
Good. Right, I'll put the gun down now. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us as ever on the VG UK podcast. If you have enjoyed us, then subscribe on the iTunes or the YouTubes or wherever the hell you are. And I've been Matt Lees, and I've been joined by Chris Bratt.
See you later.
Simon Miller.
Take care, everybody.
And the inimitable Tom Ori.
Goodbye.
Bye.